Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Nancy Drew just got renewed for season 4. So, in case you've been living under a rock, then you would know this past week that most people's Hail Marys have been answered, and Nancy Drew has indeed been renewed for season 4. But just barely. It took an extremely long time for the CW to renew that show. Because they had already renewed a bunch of other shows earlier this month, and it took them a long time to renew Nancy Drew. Now, as you might know, if you've ever watched any of my Nancy Drew videos, that you know that season 3 was not my favorite whatsoever. So much that I decided to rage quit the entire show. And it happened very, very, very early in season 3. And so I decided I was just going to boycott the show. And I was going to watch the last episode just to see if it's gotten any better. And I did not like the last episode whatsoever. Well, that, and I was a little confused as to what was going on. But I told myself, I would give season 4 a try if they got renewed. Now, in one of my earlier videos that I did say I doubt Nancy Drew is going to get renewed for season 4 because of how viewership has dwindled and everything, and how nutsy the entire season has become with witches and everything. And it ended the season with either zombies or somebody's digging up graves. Most likely people are coming from the dead and crawling on way out. So either way, it's back to silly goofiness and stuff. Is paranormal, extreme supernatural type stuff. And I really doubt that the show was going to get renewed, and it did. But like I said before, it took forever. And you know why it got renewed? You all, the fans. See, I don't follow the cast on Twitter. I follow them on Instagram. On Instagram, it's interesting. They don't post anything from the show. They just post stuff from their personal lives, mostly them working out and everything. You should check out Leah's page. My God, that woman is Superwoman. She can lift a whole lot more than I can. And so, and I think it's kind of weird because normally you'll see people post stuff from their shows. I know the people from Batwoman this season, they post a lot of stuff from behind the scenes. I think Batwoman is in trouble because it has not been renewed yet, which is probably explaining why the cast kept posting stuff behind the scenes to get people hyped. And so I don't follow them on Twitter, but I do follow this one actress who occasionally guest stars on the show. Basically, it's just like a cameo role. She comes in there for a couple of seconds and then she's out. And she follows the writers of Nancy Drew. So that's how I knew they were struggling to get a season 4 renewal. Basically, for the entire month, the entire cast and crew have been pleading with fans on Twitter to renew Nancy Drew, and it worked. That happens a lot of times in shows. It happened with Sliders. It happened with the original Star Trek TV show from the 60s. So if enough fans can plead online or in letters, it happens and shows get renewed. So they got a huge saving grace. And so this should be a wake-up call for the writers. It really should be. They need to look at their product and realize that at some point in time in their series, they screwed up, the ratings went down, and people stopped watching. And for me, it was season 3. Although season 2 was getting me kind of iffy and stuff, and getting me a little pissy, but I still stuck with it. But then it was towards the end of season 2 that really got me. Witches. Why? Why would you have 2 witch shows on the CW? That makes absolutely no sense. You already got Charmed. You don't need another. And then there's that whole legacy, what Well, the thing is, the Vampire Diaries, they have a bunch of spin-offs. And so, like, I mean, Nancy Drew is already stepping on the toes of Supernatural, which is going to be a huge problem now because Supernatural's already been canceled. So Nancy Drew was their newest, like, supernatural type show to fill that void. However, the CW's getting greedy. Now they have a supernatural spinoff. Nancy Drew needs to worry because if one supernatural show surpasses the other, they're not going to want to watch the other one. I can't even find the Rotten Tomatoes score for Nancy Drew because apparently that page has disappeared now. And so I can only go by the ratings of that of like Wikipedia. Now, season 3 for the most part has been steady. It's been around the same amount of ratings of that of season 2. Now, season 1 had the most highest ratings of them all. But then season 2 is when ratings really started to dwindle and everything. But for the most part, season 2 stayed consistent on a certain like scale level. Then you get to season 3 and it bounced around 3 different places. It's peaked a little high in the early beginnings because people, of course, were curious. But then as you can look and see towards the middle, things started dropping down really low. And then when it got close to the end of the season, that's when people started watching again. And as you can see in the last 4 episodes, the first 3 had its highest rating boost. But then in the finale, it went back down again. That should let the CW know, hey, we got a problem. That should let the writers and the crew of Nancy Drew like, hey, look, we're screwing up somewhere. Because apparently people didn't want to see how those last 3 episodes were going to fan out for the finale and everything. And so this should be a huge wake-up call to them because fans are no longer caring because there's other stuff out there and a whole lot more better stuff than that on the CW. Now, for me, I was bittersweet when this show got renewed because, you know, like I said before, I really liked the cast and I really used to love this show. But then the show kept going more and more and more of a supernatural vibe because they kept getting away with it and we, the fans, allowed them to get away with it. And so then they just went bonkers and everything in the 3rd season. And so with the ratings going down and a lot of people tuning out, you know, at one point I was kind of like, you know, maybe they should just put this show out as pasture or put it on another network. Because once again, the writers need to worry. Why? Because the CW is about to be bought by another company. And if this other company does not like the rating numbers that they see, if the fan support is not there, if whatever the writing is not there, they're going to pass this show up. And the CW has a bunch of new pilots that's about to come out. They still got the Powerpuff Girls. They got the reboot of Sweet Valley High. They got the spinoff to, what's that thing I just said? Supernatural. They are about to have another Walker spinoff, I believe. They already now have another All-American spinoff and something a lot of people don't know. Sofia Vergara from Modern Family. She is producing a female modern day Zorro show. First it was supposed to be on ABC, but they passed on it and the CW took it up. And so, like, I love Zorro, so I'm going to watch it. And I've already had my female Zorro in the form of Queen of Swords, which I will be reviewing very soon. And so that was my all-time favorite one shows in the early 2000s. And now they're going to do a modern take on it, which I've already said in my head many years ago. Why hasn't there been a modern day Zorro? There's a modern day Sherlock Holmes. So why not Zorro? I mean, get away from the 1800s. Put that person, well now, not him no more, but now her. Put her in like the 2000s, 2020s or whatever you call it. put it on a motorcycle, put it on a black leather jacket, a hoodie, a mask, and some guns. Because there's no point in fighting with a sword in this modern day age. Or at least fight with like some police sticks or something like that, you know? And so if that's a hit, then they're gonna start dropping some other shows. Because right now, the only shows on the CW not to get renewed is Dynasty, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, and Naomi. Those are the only ones left. Everything else has either been canceled or renewed. And Charmed is still standing strong in their season 4, even though one of their lead actresses have left the show. Yo, what is it with the CW where people just leave the show? I don't understand that. Because there are a lot of people who leave their shows. And I mean, a lot. And it's normally the main cast people too. And so when it comes to Legends, that show is about as wacky as it can get. Somehow it has managed to stay because it has a loyal fan base. And just like Riverdale, Riverdale had low ratings in the beginning. Then all of a sudden people started watching it on TV. Now this show will not go away. The show is terrible. The show is garbage. But people still watch it. Why? I suspect it gives them a natural high. Think about it. The world we live in sucks. And what better way to have escapism than a show that's about as wacky as you can get? With something you don't have to take nothing too seriously, and it's just like, ha 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 ha. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, because look what's going on overseas right now. It's depressing. It's so upsetting. When I watch the news, seeing little kids become orphans, I've been watching a lot of like goofy ha 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 type stuff lately. And a lot of this goofy ha 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 stuff I've been watching is like little kid stuff. What did I say? I just recently watched the Mysterious Benedict Society. Like that was pretty charming. I like that and everything. Constance is like hilarious and everything, and so that really took me out of what's been going on in the world. I've now, for some bizarre reason, started watching something called Ruby in the Well, which is on BUY TV. That's what it's called, BYU TV, I think. And for now, I'm just like, okay, it's an okay show, but I don't think I'll probably stick with it. But at least it's taking me away from what's going on, and stuff. And so the whole like Nancy Drew thing is starting to remind me of the 100 and all those Vampire Diary type shows and spinoffs. Now, I never watched a single Vampire Diary type show or the spinoffs, but I did watch the 100. And the 100 started off great for its first about 3 seasons, maybe 4, and it limped on for the rest of the remainder of the show, and it got canceled after the 6th. Its spinoff never got picked up. And the reason why it limped is because the show started to turn into garbage after that. It's because the writers did something they said they wasn't gonna do. They made it into a sci-fi show, and people was not into that. And so, like, at some point in time, the Nancy Drew fan base is going to pull away from the show. People from Riverdale are now pulling away from the show. I know this one person. She's like a former YouTuber. She used to watch Riverdale a lot. And she stopped about a couple of seasons ago. She just said she couldn't take it no more. She could not take it no more. And she stopped. And it's going to happen to Nancy Drew if the writers don't get back to what made people love the show. And I think really what it was is that people really wanted to watch a murder mystery crime type show. It was okay that they brought in like a ghost and everything, but then they started bringing in ghouls and monsters and witches and now zombies. And they have dropped some of their major plot lines from season 1 because they're too busy dealing with like zombies and stuff now and witches. And it's gonna get to a point because that supernatural spinoff show, if it's as big as its original one, people are gonna forget that. If Charm continues to do whatever the world is doing to stay on the air, people are gonna forget about that. And and that. Not to mention, there are other shows on other networks and other apps that are a million times better. So if I was the writers, I would get worried. and they need to get their act together and stuff. Because when Nancy Drew first came on back in his first season, it literally got renewed, I believe, within a couple of episodes or even before the season started and stuff. And now it waited all the way getting close to April and it just now got renewed. And like I said before, the entire cast and the writers literally went on Twitter nearly every day begging the fans to show support. And when people have to do that, a show is in dire need of being like rewritten, reworked, restructured because they are about to fall in the crapper. And the stars and the writers, they saw that. And yeah, because if the show does get canceled, it's gonna be the fault of the writers because they went too far in a different direction. And all I can stop and think about is Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.